Hi guys, welcome to Diary TV. My name is Akan. What are we discussing today? Rasheedat Ajibade, captain of the Super Falcons, have just said that the $100,000 promised by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has not been paid to any of the players. They've not received a lot. After they conquered Africa at the just concluded AFCON tournament barely a month ago, the president rained money on each player that participated. That even if you did not feature in any of the matches, you got your $100,000, and officials too were giving $50,000. So in a recent interview, captain of the side, Rasheedat Ajibade, she just left Atletico Madrid. She's clubless at the moment. She has not disclosed her next destination, and she said that the money has not been disbursed into their private accounts. But she said people are already asking her what would become of their own share of the money. Who would blame them? If Rashida was my friend, as they call her Rash. If Rash was my friend, I would have been sending messages to her that, please, where's my own cut of the money? $100,000 is not small money to come by. It's not easy to come by, even by the way that they got the money. They worked hard for it. They played at AFCON. They were unbeaten. They got to the final. They led them by 2 goals, in the first half, and they came back roaring in the second half to score 3 goals. They replied the 2 goals, and close to the end of the game, we just sealed it. We just sealed the game, and Echejini with the decisive goal that gave Nigeria the trophy. Congratulations to Super Falcons again. But on Diary TV today, we're going to be looking at failed promises of the government. Although there were some promises that were made, and the promises were not fulfilled, but there were some promises that were made and later fulfilled many years later. When I come back, I am going to tell you the various promises that government made and failed to fulfill, even while we're still existing. Teams played the 1985 Golden Eaglet side. 1985 was the first edition of the Under-17 World Cup, and Nigeria happened to participate in that competition. Nigeria won the tournament, a tournament led by our own captain, Unduka Ubade and his lads, Victor Ibinoba and the rest of the players. They did Nigeria proud. We won Italy at the final, at the historic final, making Nigeria the first country to win the Under-17 championships. Nigeria is still the team that has the highest wins at the Under-17 level. So shortly after the tournament, when the players returned home, they were given a heroic welcome, and it was then President Muhammadu Buhari's administration under the military regime promised each player 2 million naira. But not long from that day, the government was ousted, and the players had to wait for 28 years. 28 years. That's when the late President Muhammadu Buhari, became a civilian president. In 2015. That's 28 years later that he made the promise in 1985. He now gave each player their rewards, and it was a 2 million naira cash. But 2 million naira in 1985 and 2 million naira in 2015, there's a huge difference. 2 million naira in 1985 is like giving somebody 20 million naira, but 2 million naira in 2015, it's still reasonable. But all the Under-17s they are now men with their family 28 years later. So you wouldn't blame the president. He still fulfilled his promise. What he said that he was going to do, he finally did it. The second one was 1994 Super Eagles. In 1994, the Super Eagles of Nigeria, people still say until date that is the best national team we have ever paraded. As a country, that's the best national team. In Tunisia 94, Nigeria won their second AFCON title. Nigeria went on to beat Zambia in the final by 2-1. Emmanuel Amunike made his mark in that tournament, and from then on, the rest was history. And a few months later, the competition was played in January, February, and a few months later, Nigeria participated in their first World Cup at US 94, and Nigeria did superbly well. We beat Bulgaria in the first game, and we lost to Argentina in the second game, and beat Greece in the third. And we went on to the second round. That game still hurts Nigerians till date. Nigeria led until the 89th minute. This man, Roberto Baggio, equalized after Samson Siasa had given Nigeria the lead. Roberto Baggio equalized, and it was painful. This same man scored from the spot in injury time, in extra time, I beg your pardon. He scored from the spot in extra time and gave Italy a famous 2-1 win. But the government had promised the players monies and houses, and sincerely, I had the opportunity to interview Finidi George after COVID, just shortly after COVID. That was 2020, I think around August, and I asked Finidi, and Finidi said they are yet to receive their promises, the house that they promised each player. Each player were promised a house in any location of their choice around the country. So, but until 2021, that was 28 years later, President Muhammadu Buhari, the man gave each player what they deserve. That's in 2022, President Muhammadu Buhari gave each player what the government had promised. He was not the president then, but coming into power, the president, the late Buhari, a great man, he gave each player their promised apartments in various locations of their choice. And I could remember Efani Koko, he was represented by his niece. Efani Koko was based in England. He plays for Norwich City, and he participated at the 1994 AFCON, and he sent his niece to represent him, and he got an apartment in Abuja. And congrats to all the players. And I believe every other player that was in that squad, the Eguavons, the Finidi George, the Chidewanu, the Uche Okafor, the Uche Okechukwu, the Benny Roha, the late Rashidi Yekini, the list is endless. JJ Okocha, Samson Siasia. I believe every member of that team have gotten their apartments in various locations in the country. But the promise was made in 94 and it was fulfilled in 2022. So this is why some of the players are worried, probably like what Rash said. Rash said that they've not given us, so according to her, they've not given us, so I think that would send a clear signal to the government that they should fulfill their own part of the bargain. Since they brought the cup home and they've promised them their monies should be disbursed and their apartments should be given to them. Another notable promise and fail fit was the 1996 Olympic team. Nigeria became the first African team to win Olympic gold in football. No African team has done that. The team that played at the US 94, most of them were in that 1996 team, coached by Bonfrejo. Bonfrejo was the Dutch tactician that was at the dugout helping Nigeria with the tactics. The famous we won 3 South American countries going to the final. In the quarterfinals, Nigeria beat Mexico 2-1. In the semi-finals, Nigeria came back from 2 goals down while Brazil were leading 3-1, and we won by 4 goals to 3. That was when the golden goal was introduced, and Kanu Nwankwo was the first player that scored a golden goal rule, through the golden goal rule during extra time. Nigeria had equalized 3-3, and it was Kanu that even equalized the 3rd goal during injury time and took the game into extra time. So apartments were also promised to players in any parts of the nation. This is our great nation, Nigeria. The presidents, then was it was a military regime, and the players were promised, but they didn't get it. But let me tell you something. They finally got these apartments years later. They got it. Patrick Pascal, who is a home-based player in that squad, got his own apartment in Ikorodu in 2021. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu was the one that fulfilled that part of the bargain. President Muhammadu Buhari also did that to every other player that participated. Remember, it was not only the Nigerian football team that got gold at the Atlanta 96 Olympics. The first Nigerian to win gold at an Olympic event was Choma Ajunwa. Choma Ajunwa, during the long jump event, she, her jump exceeded everybody. Her jump exceeded expectations, and she was the winner of the long jump event. So she was also given her apartment years later. She was also given her apartment many years later. So the promise was made, but 20-something years later, it was fulfilled. At the 2008 Beijing Olympics, Nigeria won silver in the football event of the Olympics, and it was led. That team was led. They call them Dream Team 2. They were led by Samson Siasia, and Siasia took the boys all the way into the finals to face Argentina. But an Angel Di Maria's goal was enough to help the Argentines win the gold medal in the gold medal match, and Nigeria came second. It was a very impressive outing for the under-23 guys. These guys gave their all through the finals. Players like Monday James, Andrew Van Zek came in goal, Obasi, Chinedu Obasi, Obuke, late Isaac Promise, Osaze Odewenge, Anichebe was playing for Everton. The Everton striker, the huge Everton striker, Victor Anichebe, was also in that squad, and that squad went all the way into the finals to win silver. And the team were promised, they were promised to be given honors and other, it's just like every other team that were giving monies and apartments. So this team were also promised, national honors and apartments. So up until today, I am sorry to say, these guys have not gotten anything. Recently, in one of the memories of that tournament, Femi Ajilore, one of the defenders, Femi Ajilore, wrote under a social media post under that memorable video of the under-23 national team. When are they going to get this? When are they going to get what they were promised? And another member of that team, Obina Onsofo, replied that promises upon promises, the federal government has not responded. So this is one of the things that have been happening in Nigerian football. Players being promised, and many years later, you can imagine from 2008 to 2025, it's a lot of years. 3 more years to make it how many years now? So it's a lot of time now, and the government should look into these matters, because when you reward youths, players, people that achieve their dreams in what they do, when you reward them, it is what encourages the upcoming stars to represent the green and white colors of Nigeria. But if it's been delayed, I don't blame them if they choose to represent another country in sports or in whatever field that they are, because of the promise and fail or promise and delay before fulfilling their rewards. It is not encouraging for the upcoming youths that are in Nigeria now, they are sweating it all out to give their best to the country. So we hope Rasheedat Ajibade's plea to the federal government, the government led by Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, would respond immediately. I don't want to say that the government will promise and fail, but probably they are working on how to transfer them. And I'm not speaking for the government, but probably there's something under works that is going on to help each and every member get their own share of the prize. Remember, the female basketball team also won the Afro Basket Championship, and they were given same amount that they were giving to the Falcons, the football team, and they were given 100K. So I believe what Rasheedat Ajibade has said will also trickle down to the female basketball team, the Tigress. That's what we call them, the Tigress. So I hope it will trickle down and everybody gets paid and will smile back home. That's what we have today on Diary TV. Please like our page, subscribe to it, put on the notification button so that whenever we're dropping our videos, you'll be alerted and you would have something new to learn in sports generally. I remain Akan. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye.